And so something as simple as, this ride requires that you wear swim trunks or proper swim attire. I wouldn't call it safety attire, but proper attire for both men and women. Protect them all. So do a better job, Disney. You got a lot of problems down there in Florida, and you need to spend a little bit more time working on safety. Not only for the children, but for the adults that are coming into your theme park. So do a better job, Disney. And guess what? Nobody will sue you. People don't get hurt. No lawsuits. Hey, welcome back to Safety News. This is Russ Kendzior, joined by my co-host, Sean.
How's it going, Russ?
I like your shirt color today.
Thank you. It's very salmon-y, kind of.
Yeah, is it salmon? Is that a salmon color?
I think it's getting close. Kind of making me hungry now that I think about it.
Well, I got a gift for you. Ooh. Yeah, check this out. Check this out, man.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Check it out. There you go.
Thank you very much. Look at this.
Yeah. Remember the episode we did last week? About the straws and the... Remember that?
Yeah, I do, actually. Yeah.
So guess what I got you?
No way.
I got you some stainless steel straws, bro.
You could never be too safe.
With the brush, you can clean it. Now, this is for you and a significant other.
I was going to say, you have two.
Remember?
Wow,
Remember?
Yes.
Let me go on a date.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if you need to carry the brush part. I mean, that's kind of, But on a date, you don't want to get those forever chemicals. So it's like, hey, whatever your significant other's name is, hey, I'm really concerned about your health.
Thank you.
And so I just got some, Russ gave me some stainless steel straws to, kind of keep those forever chemicals down. So these are for you too.
Thank you, Russ. Super kind. And I'm sure whoever she is in the future, I'll be sure to bring this on our first date. And she appreciates your commitment to her safety.
Well, again, it's a matter of safety. It's a matter of safety. So we want to make everybody safe.
It's an awesome cup too. And I know we gave a shout out for not just the cup here, but also the Safety News hat, the official hat. Yeah. Russ did not ask me to say this. This is completely of my own volition. In fact, I could be probably a little critical of merch until I really interact with it. I love the hat. It's amazing fit.
Merch.
And I'm already liking just, the pace that we're going at. So hope you get a good look at this. Nice, comfortable. High quality. That's how Russ does it.
Yeah, it's lined. It's got the thermal insulation. It does not come with the straws, though.
No straws. Sold separately.
Those are a little bit extra. So just a little something I wanted to have for you. So
thanks, Russ.
But anyhow, we've got a really good show today. You ready to get the show on the road?
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, let's see.
Safety Matters in the News.
All right, Sean, guess what we got in the news today? Did you hear about this?
I have not, but that's an interesting headline.
Oh, you didn't hear about this?
No.
Yeah, a woman is suing Disney for $50,000 over injurious Wedgie on the Typhoon Lagoon water slide in her birthday trip gone wrong.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, true story. Woman is seeking hefty sum of money from the House of Mouse in a recent lawsuit following an unpleasant trip down a water slide at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon that resulted in a, quote, injurious? Wedgie. Yeah. Never heard that combination of terms. Anyhow, in a lawsuit filed on Wednesday in Orange County, Florida, Emma and Edward McGinnis said that they were seeking $50,000 in damages from Disney World from injuries from a 2019 visit to the resort's popular water park. Now, the first thing that kind of jumps out at me is 2019. Wasn't that like the peak of COVID?
Yeah.
Wasn't that like
when stuff was kicking off?
I mean, was Disney World open? I mean, were they even?
So if I remember my dates, I think 2020 is when everything started shutting down, but as early as 2019, there was a scare.
All right. So she was there in 2019. Lawsuit details Emma's painful trip down the Humunga Kawabunga slide. Now, there's a hell of a name for you, which consists of 3 body tubes totaling 214 feet in length. The ride ends in a nearly 5-story plummet. in the dark at nearly 40 miles an hour into a pool. So imagine you're kind of going through these tubes. It's dark. It's night. You got your bathing suit on. You don't really know what to expect, and you land in the water. 5 stories. I mean, that's a hell of a drop.
Yeah.
And she got a wedgie. She got a wedgie.
I should be laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Sean, it's not funny. Here she is. Well, that's not her. But this is the Cowabunga ride. These people are just having a great time.
They're having a great time.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Everybody has a great time getting a wedgie. Emma alleged that Disney did not explain why safety protocols, such as crossing one's legs, were necessary and that women would be at greater risk for injuries due to their anatomy and their swimwear. So let's kind of take a pause there, Sean. Anatomy and swimwear. Anatomy and I think they mean, their construction. And, going down a water slide. And women wear different types of bathing suits. I mean, they're not wearing, trunks like guys are wearing, or in your case where you wear the Speedo. If you had the Speedo on, Sean, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get a wedgie too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there are some dudes that are wearing Speedos.
But I signed up for that,
Yeah, I mean, you did. You knew that when you got there that that's an potential occupational injury.
That's right.
But anyhow, Emma, she got a little carried away, and when a rider on the slide reached the bottom of the ride and traveled into the pool of water designed to stop further travel, meaning you hit the water and it slows you down. The force of the water can push loose garments into a person's anatomy, an event known as a wedgie. I didn't know there's a technical term for that, the wedgie. Lawsuit says, quote, because of a woman's anatomy, the risk of painful wedgie is more common and more serious than it is for men. Now, I got to tell you, Sean, I grew up in a different time. Young boys would commonly give wedgies to other boys. It's just kind of a part of the rite of, indoctrination. I mean, you're in the locker room after a game, and it's
wedgie time.
It's wedgie time. Not everybody does that. I mean, not obviously. Women don't do that. They're not used to wedgies. Anyhow, Emma's certainly not used to getting a wedgie. So anyhow, it's painful. Now we talked about swimsuits. All right. Here's just kind of 2 examples of what I would assume would be a typical woman's one-piece swimsuit. The one on the left is probably the more, wedgie risk. The one on the right has kind of built-in shorts, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking as you're looking at these 2 swimsuits, you're probably going to say, well, depending on which one you choose, it's going to, probably provide a woman more protection from a wedgie.
Yep.
Would that be fair to say?
I think that's fair.
And so, all right, first question you ask, does Disney have a policy as far as what type of swimsuit a woman could wear?
Is this my guess, or?
I'm just curious. I mean, I've never seen that. I mean, we go to water parks. Yeah. I mean, look, I always hated going to water parks with the kids. There's stuff going on in that water that you just can't control. I mean, there's a lot of...
That's the real safety concern here.
Yeah, yes. There's some stuff going on, and I mean, some people make that kind of like a game, like, hey, I can turn the water yellower than you. So that's the gross part of water parks in general. But are there policies? I mean, is there anybody out there that says, hey, you can't wear that type of swimsuit here? For example, if you come with a bikini, a woman comes in with a bikini, or you go in with your Speedo. Right. I mean, do they keep you out? Hey, you can't wear a Speedo here.
Well, I'll just put myself in the shoes of, a Disney administrator, or if, I was in charge or lifeguard, something like that. I think for men, you hit the nail on the head, right? You're basically either wearing trunks, regular clothing, or some kind of a Speedo, right? And I think for women, there's variations of a one-piece, or there's a two-piece, or you're wearing just regular clothes. So if basically the permutations all come back to like 5 or 6 styles max, at what point can you really say that's not something you can wear? Because in this case...
Can you say that? Can a business say... I mean, they say that now. No shoes, no shorts, no service. I mean, can a water park say, hey, that's inappropriate swimwear? And I'm saying, like, some women have very little tact, and they're going to wear some inappropriate bathing suits. And so there's this this family atmosphere, like we don't want you in here with your micro bikinis. Not only because it's kind of, the wrong audience, but they're dangerous. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? So is it the responsibility of a water park, Disney, to say, hey, look, you're just not going to be allowed, if you want to wear this type of bathing suit, fine. But if you want to wear, something that's less appropriate, we're going to restrict your entry. Sorry, you can't come out with that bathing suit.
I think they can. I think my guess would be they seldom exercise their right to do that. And I think that's based on a number of factors.
Well, then they are responsible for her wedgie.
So that would assume that anytime a company can prevent something and they don't, they're liable. Is that fair to say?
Well, I'm just saying if a bathing suit, a particular type of bathing suit, may be more or less likely to cause harm on a 5-story drop into water, then there needs to be some warning or caution. I mean, this particular case gets a little weird, but yeah.
Since we are talking about these, I think in this case, here's the challenge. If somebody just walks into the park, you don't know what rides they are or are not going to do. However, the lifeguard in front of this ride in particular, knowing that certain people could be susceptible to certain injuries given that drop and given what they're wearing, that's where, okay, if we're just getting technical and nerdy about this, I think the person in charge of that ride specifically should mention where those situations lie. But generally walking into the park as a whole, I think you'd be asking for a whole lot of complication doing that.
Well, I would assume you're not walking around the park in a bathing suit. You're only wearing the bathing suit for this ride, which is actually Emma's complaint. If you read her lawsuit, the lawsuit says that Emma's injury, which categorizes the experience as an injurious wedgie, could have been avoided if Disney World had instructed her on proper clothing, meaning, hey, that's inappropriate swimsuit, you're high risk, or what she talks about crossing her legs. And again, this is, it's an odd lawsuit, but as it said, the risk of injury to a rider's genitalia and internal organs, so this could have been pretty bad, can be eliminated by using shorts or other protective clothing to act as a barrier and to prevent clothing or water from being forced inside of her body when she slammed into the pool of water at the end of the slide. Disney does not instruct riders to wear protective clothing, nor does it make protective shorts available to riders, and does not warn the riders of the risk of injury if protective clothing is not worn using the slide. Now, the key word here is protective clothing. I mean, that's I don't know how many people would relate to protective clothing as a sign or as a message, but if you're going to ride the ride, you need to wear appropriate clothing to protect yourself. And I would think that'd be even more important for like little kids, little girls, assuming they let little kids on this ride. I mean, Emma was not a little kid; she was a grown woman. Yeah. But Emma got hurt, and they're suing Disney for $50,000. And I at first when I saw this, I thought, well, this is crazy. Yeah. People file a lot of crazy lawsuits. You got a lot of frivolous lawsuits. The irony is most of these frivolous lawsuits aren't quite as frivolous as you think, because they're all rooted in something of meaning, that there actually is statistical evidence that there is risk. And I have to imagine Emma's not the only person that had this happen, maybe not as severe, but there's got to be a lot of women or children that experience some form of injury going down this slide and landing into that pool. I mean, you're coming in at a pretty big force. Now, I don't know how big of a woman Emma is. We don't really know. I mean, we're kind of wading through this water, no pun intended, about what happened, but I don't know how large she was, or if there was a disability involved, or alcohol. It's always alcohol, right? But it's just an odd story, and I thought you'd have some insight. If you, again, carrying on. All right, so Emma's thrilling ride. Thrilling. I wouldn't quite call it thrilling, especially when you go to the emergency room. Yeah. Said that she experienced immediate and severe pain internally, and when she stood up, blood blood rush from between her legs. So this is stuff. Right. This is rough. The lawsuit says Emma was immediately rushed to the hospital where she suffered severe and permanent bodily injury, including severe vaginal lacerations, a full thickness laceration, causing her bowel to protrude through her abdominal wall. I mean, this is
okay.
This is not just a wedgie. I think this is much more than that. It's physical harm. And so the question is, regardless of the money that the couple is asking for, what do you think?
So first off, I think that's horrific and unfortunate that she experienced that level of injury, because that sounds extremely painful. And some of it, I wonder if some of it's irreversible, right? Damage to her. So the trauma of that must have been immense, because this is happening in a public place too, in public water. So that's just a whole lot to deal with, both actual physical injury and the mental toll of just what has happened. So unfortunate that was the case. Open questions that I have is, maybe I missed this, but I'm still curious as to what exactly she was wearing, because that, as I read that's intense to read. And I wonder, has that happened to anybody else that's taken this ride? Surely Disney, a park that's been around for years, and this ride, I would imagine, let's say 100 rides a day, right? We're doing 3,000 plus rides a year. Has this happened often? And if it hasn't, what in this case caused that level of injury?
Well, that's a good question. And one of the interesting things is, on the after this story was published on Fox News' website, there were a lot of comments, and we're going to go through some of them. So we're going to find out what some of the people, that read the story thought. I mean, here's kind of a range of articles, if you will, dating back to when this story came out. I love this guy. His name, Negatively Necessity. That's not your handle, is it, Sean?
It's not.
Yeah, hey, it's as bad as detailed. I'd be asking for a lot more money. But there's some self-responsibility here as well. That's one of the comments. Got 121 likes, 9 dislikes. So there's a certain viewpoint of, this is a bad deal, and really she should be given more money. Then you kind of go down to the next comment. I went on that slide once. I got out and said, never again, quote unquote. And I was about 30 at the time. By the way, we don't really know how old Emma is, right? I got out without injuries, but it did take my breath away. And I was unstable on my feet for a few minutes. It wasn't pleasant. Ending the fun ride. Think of it as having someone yank your underwear, and I think we know what they're saying here.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
And so it's pretty brutal. So that there's a previous, right? There's a previous rider. I've never been on this ride, but that was one of the comments. And now, here's the last one, which is of course always political. Heavily seasoned. In the liberal world, there's no such thing as personal responsibility. Well, dude, I don't know who you are, but that's just bullshit. Okay. Liberals are responsible people as well as conservatives and everybody in between. So don't give me this crap about, well, they're liberals, therefore they're, excuse me, but not the case. Some actually contra viewpoints. This is from, is that Bobby 314? Yeah. Emma alleged that Disney did not explain why safety protocols such as crossing one legs were necessary, and that women would be at greater risk for injuries due to their anatomy. So because Disney did not explain why crossing her legs was necessary, she chose to ignore the advice. And now it's apparently Disney's fault. See, it's Disney's. So you sit there and you say, okay, now where everyone's kind of throwing the blame here. Let's just do the blame game thing. It's
and there's an alteration. From what I read there, it's less about the garment she was wearing, more about how she did or did not cross her legs.
Well, that's it. So you say, okay, had she crossed her legs, would she have not been injured? Probably. But these comments go on, Sean. And here's a second comment from Don't Matter. They say, well, that's before civil courts started paying huge dividends for not being responsible. We get into this responsibility thing. Mm-hmm. And then the last comment here was, hopefully the judge will find the reason was intuitive. And so, comments go on, and everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got, like noses. Everybody's got one. In some cases, more than one opinion. And so I don't see this as a personal responsibility issue. You get excited. You're going down this tube. You're flying at lightning speed. It's dark out. Hey, hold on. I got to cross my legs. I don't know if everybody would remember that. But I do think there's a responsibility. I have to tell you, when I first saw this story, I didn't read it this way, but I do think there's a responsibility on the ride owner to say, hey, you got to wear the right type of clothing. For example, this happened in Orlando 2 years ago. Remember when the really big guy fell off of the ride? Remember the ride in Disney? It wasn't Disney World, but it was in Orlando. Yeah. And it was a young man who weighed 300 pounds. They put him into this ride, and he fell out. Remember that? Well, there's rules for that. There's rules for weight, right? You can't be too big. There's minimum heights on rides, right? You can't be too small. In fact, when you go on roller coasters, they have the little scale where the little kid has to meet the minimum. Yeah. Why not have a minimum standard for clothing? I mean, if you're not wearing the right type of clothing, you can't ride it. Or just tell people before they get there, hey, you're going to have to wear shorts. Mm-hmm. So she can wear a swimsuit. Yeah. Just bring a pair of, swim trunks with you. Yeah. I do feel there is some responsibility on the part of Disney to better inform their customers, not just say, well, you should have crossed your legs and you're a liberal, you deserve it anyhow. I mean,
I've got two questions for you. So I'm going to order them in which I think is a bigger consideration response. So the first one is, given what we read in some of the comments, not just this lady's experience, but the experience of others, do you think this ride in question should even be considered for removal from the park itself?
Good question. Do they have an age limit? Do they have a height limit? Do they have a weight limit? I mean, what are the rules for going on this ride? Now, I understand the push the envelope thing. Rides got to get scarier, faster, quicker, more exciting. People get attracted to the, to the threat and the fear. And some people are better equipped to deal with that than others. But when you jeopardize people's safety, and she had more than Wedgie. I mean, they're calling it a Wedgie, man. I'm sitting there going,
I feel bad laughing.
This is not a Wedgie. This is pretty severe stuff. I mean, she was bleeding, had to go to the emergency room, and so I don't know. I come down on the side of do a better job of warning. Don't blame your customers because they didn't cross their legs. Don't make it political. It's not political. It's about safety. This is all about safety. And how often do we do stories on safety matters, Sean? There's always a theme park involved in some safety problem. Remember the roller coaster?
That's a good point. The theme park, I feel like, I don't know if because it really happens that much on ratio, meaning like they give X amount of rides a day and there truly is a high likelihood that something happens, or it's just the combination of, theme parks come with extreme risk, thrills, etc. So when something does go wrong, we play it up to the nth degree media-wise. But it just, so this situation, the one you mentioned in Florida, I remember there was the one that just shook me the most. Like, I got emotional reading it. Was a young boy got decapitated in front of an audience from, I think it was one of those things with a harness, and it wasn't fully on. He got dislodged, just flew off, and people saw it. Like, I was reading the article and people saw the head, and I was just like, this.
Well, Sean, he was a liberal and he should have wore a neck brace. It's his fault. Yeah. I mean, we have people in this country that, in this world, that think that way. If you are offering, I guess the best way to sum it up is like this. Woman goes to a theme park. She's on a water slide, not certain what to expect. She's going because it's exciting. Yeah. She's wearing what she considers an appropriate bathing suit. I assume she didn't have any disability. She didn't have any weight problems. Assume she wasn't drinking. She went down the ride. It scared the hell out of her. But she didn't expect when she hits the water at 120 miles an hour that it's going to actually cause her bladder to come out of her body. And you certainly can't just say, well, you know what? It's your fault. You should have crossed your legs. No. Yeah. That's not going to work. Yeah. And so we got to do a better job. And I think the theme parks, which kind of play on this whole thing of fear, which scare the hell out of them. People love to get scared. Well, we want that fear to be unreal. In other words, it's not real. It's not like, hey, let's go to a haunted house and we're going to pretend to get your head cut off. And in fact, you actually get your head cut off and then blame you.
Yeah.
It's your fault because, you ran into the guy with a chainsaw. Well, guess what? It's a horror house. There's guys running around with chainsaws or God knows what. And by the way, a lot of people get hurt in horror houses, these theme parks where there's, the fear technique. So
like during Halloween time too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there we are. That's today's story. A woman gets a mega wedgie. Whose fault is it? Who's responsible? Actually, her $50,000 demand seems pretty reasonable.
Well, so let me ask you one.
That's not a lot of dinero.
If you were the judge overlooking this trial, what would be some things or information that would be very important for you to help just understand exactly?
Well, it's going to come down to the facts. Are there hazards associated with this ride, this property, that the defendant was aware of?
Right.
Yes or no? Like there's a responsibility for the property owner, Disney, to maintain their rides in a safe condition. We know that doesn't always happen. How many times have we done stories where people get killed on these theme parks? I mean, when my kids were little, I wouldn't even take them to the carnival.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it was like the carnival in town, I'm like...
Because you felt it was unsafe?
Well, look at the people that work at the carnival. No offense, but you want that guy? The guy that's putting together the ride, who goes from town to town and, lives in a trailer. You want your kid on the ride that's spinning him around at 100 miles an hour. And, it just takes one bolt that didn't quite get put in right. It's one of those, hold my beer and watch this moment. So I just never wanted to... I didn't trust them. I'm just like, no, I don't know who these people are.
Sure.
And they go from town to town. So guess what? After the little kiddo loses a limb, they're like, hey, bye, we'll see you up the street. So I never felt comfortable about that. And you would always feel that there would be a more higher level of trust with the larger theme parks like Disney. But obviously that's not always true. I mean, we got a case of a mega wedgie. And, but anyhow, that's today's episode, Sean.
Well, thanks for sharing with the audience. And yeah, I learned that there's just a lot of things to think about. Like when you engage in any kind of adventure-seeking experience, right? Like theme parks, we've all been to one, but they come with true risks. And I think a lot of times in these cases, right, we don't really process what could happen until it actually happens, unfortunately. So just kind of a powerful reminder to...
I mean, she didn't want this to happen.
Of course not.
Neither did Disney. But if they... when people say, well, there's 10,000 people went down that slide, never had not one of them got hurt. I got to throw the bullshit flag. Yeah. They got hurt. You just didn't know about it. They didn't get hurt as badly,
right,
where their bladder was coming out of their body. But they got hurt. There was complaints. They had to have people hurt. That, again, not all that serious, but it just takes... the wrong set of circumstances. She may have hit the water just the wrong way. Yeah. And so something as simple as, this ride requires that you wear swim trunks or proper swim attire. I wouldn't call it safety attire, but proper attire for both men and women. Protect them all. So do a better job, Disney. You got a lot of problems down there in Florida, and you need to spend a little bit more time working on safety. Not only for the children, but for the adults that are coming into your theme park. So do a better job, Disney. And guess what? Nobody will sue you. People don't get hurt. No lawsuits. So,
true.
Anyhow, Sean, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Russ.
Did you enjoy the episode?
I did. Yeah, let's keep it going.
Good. All righty. Well, that's this episode of Safety Matters. So on behalf of myself and Sean Aronski here, and again, just be careful with the Speedos, okay? I mean, you can wear those in the backyard. Just,
You have my full support on
keep
the
it
Speedos.
safe, okay? So, I like that. Very nice, Sean. Thank you very much. Cheers. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.